We're going to talk about an idea today that most of us think of as exclusively Eastern. But it turns out it has these surprisingly deep and mostly forgotten roots right here in Western thought. We're going to make the case for reincarnation, but not by looking at foreign texts. We're going to build it using arguments and stories from our own intellectual history.
So, let's start our journey way back, more than 1,000 years ago, with this amazing story recorded by the historian Bede. Picture this: a swallow flies through a warm, bright banquet hall, in one window and right out the other, disappearing back into the winter storm. An old advisor, he turns to his king and says, "That's us. That's human life. Just this brief, warm moment of light, coming from a darkness we don't remember and flying straight into a darkness we can't possibly foresee."
That ancient story, right? It just perfectly sets up the huge questions we're diving into. Where do we come from before we fly through that window? And where are we going after we fly out? And maybe the one that stings the most: why is life so incredibly unequal? I mean, these are the fundamental mysteries that have pretty much always haunted us.
Well, the source we're digging into today argues that the West had its very own, really powerful answer to these questions. It's just one that's been, well, largely set aside. So let's explore reincarnation, not as some foreign import, but as a kind of homegrown solution to this great puzzle.
So, what are we actually talking about when we say reincarnation? The source gives this really elegant definition. The soul doesn't just show up as a blank slate. Nope, it's a traveler, and it's been shaped by all of its past experiences. And here's the crucial part: your actions right now, today, are shaping who you're going to become next.
I just love the metaphors that are used here to make this whole thing feel a little more tangible. So think of your soul as this permanent thread, right? And each life you live is just a different bead being strung onto it. Or what about this image of a single drop of water on this vast, epic journey? From the ocean to a cloud to the rain into a river, it's always the same drop of water, but it's in constantly changing forms, just gathering experience before it finally goes back to its source. It turns the idea from a simple loop into this incredible journey of growth.
Okay, so how is this case actually built? Our source doesn't just throw out a what if. It lays out this whole series of logical pillars, and they're all drawn from a Western philosophical framework to back the idea up.
And the arguments, they cover a lot of ground, from philosophy to science, trying to answer theological questions, and even explain those strange, uncanny feelings we sometimes get. But probably the most powerful claim on this list is the last one, that this idea actually solves the fundamental problem of injustice.
What's so fascinating here is who's doing the talking. This isn't some fringe mystic. This is Isaac Disraeli, a really respected 19th century British scholar. He's arguing that metempsychosis, which is just another word for reincarnation, is actually the most logical system for making sense of all the pain and pleasure in life. And he wasn't the only one. Professor William Knight, another notable academic, he didn't see this as some dead idea. He saw it as a really resilient one. He actually believed it was just as likely to have a comeback as any other theory about where the soul is headed. It kind of suggests an idea that never really goes away. It just waits for the right time to pop back up. Okay, so we've touched on the philosophy, but the source material makes a pretty bold claim that the most compelling evidence might not be in books at all, but inside our own experiences. It's asking us to really think about those strange moments of unexplainable familiarity or knowledge. Sir Walter Scott actually gave this feeling a name: the sentiment of preexistence. You know that feeling? That super uncanny sense of déjà vu, where a place you've never been to feels like home, or you feel like you're just rereading a script. Scott wondered, what if these aren't just little glitches in our brain? What if they're echoes of something real, a memory from another time? And then you get stories that go way beyond just a vague feeling. The source tells this incredible anecdote about a man who's shown into a room in a part of London he swears he's never been to. And he's just stunned because he recognizes everything. So, to test himself, he thinks, okay, if this is real, there's a very specific, peculiar knot in the wood of that window shutter. He walks over, he opens it, and there it is. I mean, how do you even begin to explain that? And this story is just brilliant. It shows how the idea can seem to bubble up from a place that's beyond learning. A little boy is just watching his siblings counting, and it triggers this incredibly profound thought. He says, that's how people do it. They begin over again. Then he turns to his mom and says he hopes she'll be his mom again the next time I begin. It's just presented as this moment of pure, totally unprompted intuition. So what's the big picture here? How does this all come together? If you actually accept this framework, how does it change your view of the world? Well, our source argues that it completely reframes your understanding of justice, of suffering, and of your place in the universe.
Now, the engine that drives this whole system of justice is karma. But let's be really clear about the definition here. This is not about some cosmic judge handing out rewards and punishments. It's a simple, impersonal law of cause and effect. So the crucial point is this: our current situation is the direct result of our past actions, and our present actions are actively creating our future. There's no destiny being forced on you.
This slide just makes the distinction crystal clear. Fate is passive. It's something that happens to us, an external force that makes us feel like victims. Karma, on the other hand, is active. It's an internal law where we are the cause, and our life is the effect. The shift in perspective here is immense. You go from being a victim of circumstance to being the architect of your own destiny.
And so, we'll end with this final thought. Through the lens of reincarnation, what looks like a chaotic, completely unjust world starts to resolve into a pattern. Every single joy and every sorrow has its reason, woven into what the source calls a magnificent tapestry of perfect poetic justice. It's a really powerful idea that behind all the chaos of life, there's an underlying order, and that you are its architect. A provocative thought to leave you with.